Thomas,
Hello.
what are the good qualities that you bring to a relationship? Say something nice about yourself. I dare you.
Oh, the eyebrows that'll be raised when my lady listens to this episode. Interesting question, Liz. Now, readers, with a loaded question like this, there's going to be some horn blowing from everybody in the room.
Yeah.
So let's all just accept that.
Yep.
My good qualities in a relationship. I think I'm a good champion for my lady. I hold her up in the world, and I encourage, and I'm a good supporter for what she does. A good cheerleader. Yes,
As a
babe,
reality
you can
check,
do it.
I will say I have noticed this about you. So this is not just you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sweating. Oh God, it's hot in here. Is it bright? I'm a good sound. I think I'm a good soundboard for problems and issues in a relationship. Yes, sort of comedically, I can bounce around life going, fucking Jesus Christ, fuck, and sort of like that. But when there's an issue, when there's a problem, level-headed, good advice.
Nice.
I can get the torches and pitchforks out and hit the streets with you, but also I'll try diplomacy. I think I have a good, healthy understanding of a division of labor, I think.
Oh, that's a good one.
I will cook. I do more cleaning. I do more cooking.
I wish more people had that. Just in general, it does seem like a lot of relationships, and it's not even gendered, are just imbalanced with the amount of work that people put in terms of acts of service.
So I think when there's no assumption that you will do this or that I will do this, it just sort of gets done. There's three off the top of my head, and I'll flirt my eyes around the room and sort of desperately try for someone to take the spotlight off me. Elizabeth, when you were in a relationship,
Yes.
what are your good qualities?
I'm a really good nurturer. I'm good at looking after people, even if they don't want to be looked after, just in secret little ways to make their lives a little bit easier. I'm not easy to live with all of the time,
That's
but
okay.
I always get worried if somebody's not feeling great, and I like to try and help. Sometimes people don't want my help, so sometimes I need to do what my therapist used to call ninja nurturing, which is just like cooking extra dinner and it just being there. I think I am quite good at physical affection.
Yep, good.
Not everyone loves that though, so
That's
could be a
okay, but
problem.
everyone's different, so you have to match up how you can.
And I'm always very good with words of affirmation. So I'm always happy to
yes.
tell you. I will tell you what's on my mind. I will tell you how I feel. You will never have to guess what my feelings are. I will, constantly vocally be your champion and tell you that you can do it, and you can clear the hurdle and offer to help if you need a resume written. I don't know. I'm a helper. I'm a helper, and sometimes I put my own mental health at risk because I'm helping other people. But I'm a helper in a relationship.
Sure. Now we can spin the spotlight to a third party, with consent willing. I mean, he will be on microphone for this episode.
Yes.
Uncle Zane is in the house.
I'm here.
In the house, as they say.
No.
Do I
get
get
out.
to
As the
sell
kids say.
myself now?
Yes.
If
yes.
you would like a stab, you don't have to.
I mean, I think my best traits in a relationship are probably some of my just personal traits in life. It's like I'm very good at being the responsible adult, and in a relationship that very much means kind of like forcing honesty
Yeah.
and not
right.
letting things go untended to. I think so that's probably my biggest quality is I'm willing to say the things
The tough
that
stuff.
some people would prefer go unsaid, and that would turn into a problem later down the track.
That's a nice quality to have. You being able to put aside pride or ego or anything like that, and sort of go, "Hey, hang on, the problem here. This needs to happen."
And on the other side of that, I think I'm very generous. So like,
Yes,
Yeah.
I would attest. I think everyone that knows Zane personally would attest.
We're all
that.
nodding.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
nodding
so
all
like
around.
I don't hold back within a relationship.
No.
So like I'll say I feel this way and this is what I want to do, and if you can't, so if we want to do this and you can't afford it, we'll just do it. Like
Me too.
Yeah.
I do that too. Except my ex used to get real mad at me because he's like, "You're spending too much money." I'm like, "We don't have joint finances. Leave me alone."
Yeah.
So then I would, because I was working for a magazine at the time. So then I would just buy a voucher for whatever I wanted to do and go, "Hey, work gave me this voucher because I wanted to do it. Damn it."
There's nothing wrong with that little.
See,
little
again,
trick.
ninja nurturing.
Yeah,
They don't
it's
know that
just-
I'm paying
it's-
for something that they think they can't afford. But he was just like, we
Absolutely.
were earning over $120,000 together, and they were like, we're battlers. Fuck you. We're not battlers. We can
Yeah.
afford to go out to dinner.
That's right.
Welcome
well
to
then,
Ghost of Boyfriends
aren't,
Past.
aren't we all wonderful people in this room?
Next week, I'm going to say what are the shit ones,
Here we
what are the
go.
shit qualities that we
boy.
have.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
Liz Best.
I'm Tom Harris.
And
I'm
we've got
Zane
Zane
C.
C.
Weber.
Weber on
Yes.
mic, producer Zane here again to offer his wisdom and criticism sometimes.
Trying to
Honesty.
hide my COVID cough.
Yeah, look, we've just been discussing off mic how differently COVID has hit us. Zane is coughing all the time, and I have something wrong with the cartilage in my ribs, so I can't
Jesus.
cough, and I really want to. So I'm like hearing Zane cough and then cough and remember I can't, and I'm in intense pain.
We're
So
all
it's-
being held together with string and strepsils in this
Yep.
room,
Yep,
everybody.
we're duct taped. It's great.
But you join us on a main episode of Ghost of Boyfriends Past. Normally, we have a guest in the studio, and they'll bring us a tale of love and romance gone by. And we pick through it, and at the end, we ask, what did we learn? We don't have a guest in the studio today.
No.
Sometimes that can't happen due to location. We've got readers spanning all over the globe. Some people don't want to hop on a flight to Australia to be here in the studio in person, so they write a story in.
This one is because they didn't want to put their name to it because it is a salacious topic that
dear.
we have today.
Delicious.
Delicious is salacious and all of those things. It's very long.
Okay.
It's 14 pages.
Jeez.
So it might be a couple episodes.
I've got the stopwatch and it's either going to be 2 or 3 episodes. So we'll get to a point and it'll be the Swinger Chronicles because we're talking about swinging today. Now, I forgot to ask this person what false name they would like us to use for them. So being that they don't refer to themselves, I don't know, we can just say they the whole time or we can come up with a name that we think.
I would like
They
to
might
call
like-
them Cindy.
Okay,
Cindy.
Cindy,
Thank you, Cindy.
this is what's happening. I'm sorry if you hate the name Cindy.
I also apologize.
All right. So, Cindy has been working on this for quite some time. And when I knew that Zane and I were unwell, I contacted her and said, is there any way that it's finished? Because we want to record, but we're probably not up to having people in the studio. And what they sent through was greater than my wildest dreams. They honestly have been working on it for a really long time. So, thank you. So, I'm just going to get straight into it.
Please.
Now, when people think of swingers, they tend to think about paunchy middle-aged guys with receding hairlines, ponytails, busty, over-bleached blonde women in sexy underwear throwing their keys in a bowl with a nod and a wink. And while, yes, I've certainly met these types in the lifestyle, I've mainly met attractive and well-spoken professional people who are, among other things, bank tellers, engineers, lawyers, teachers, police officers, charity workers, university lecturers, and nurses. There are a lot of nurses in this lifestyle. Shift work? I don't know. These people, Uncle Zane's got
Just
his,
medical expertise?
I don't know,
guess?
maybe.
I don't know.
These people treat this as an exciting addition to their life and wouldn't want to be, and would not in any way be considered overtly sexual or deviant by any of their vanilla friends. We hide in plain sight. We walk amongst you.
Well, that's ominous.
Yes.
My husband, Hub for reference, and I are those typical of this type. We're good, upstanding citizens with conservative, professional jobs, a stable marriage, in brackets mostly, who will visit our parents, remember to send a niece or nephew congratulations on an academic achievement, and go to our various sports and hobby clubs. And who also like to find people outside of our marriage to have sex with, either together or, depending on the person, completely separately from each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we should all be upfront. Like, what do you have preconceptions about swinging?
I feel because of my background, having been cheated on a lot, I would really need to work on my trust issues. Like as a concept of something that's a little bit sexy, I'm titillated by it. But I also think in reality that my anxiety would go mental unless I was with someone that was so honest and open.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know it happens in the world. I'm
I think it'd
totally
be sexy as fuck, but I'm scared of it.
totally at peace with it happening in the world, and me personally, I can't put myself in their shoes as to how these people arrive at this willingness and to do it. I don't have that within me, so I struggle a bit in going, I don't play well with others. So,
I've discussed a fantasy with an ex before where we were talking about watching each other having sex with someone else, but then we just got ourselves worked up and had the sex. We didn't do it, but have definitely talked about how hot it would be, but I think my own issues would get in the way of it.
I will agree that swinging does need a brand refresh in terms of
it's so 70s dirty branded
the connotations that come to head whenever you hear that see that word. It's just
lots of brown
keys in the bowl, brown-arama. You're right, yeah.
Brown-arama, I love it.
Brown-arama. That's gross.
Okay. Now, while I don't go around actively recruiting people, in brackets, I'm not a Scientologist. If someone finds out and asks with genuine interest, then I'm happy to talk to them about the lifestyle. I often have a little water test if someone jiggles my swingdar. My go-to being, well, you'd be fun at a swingers party, and how they react often tells me everything I need to know about how open they are to the idea. I've also sat through very uncomfortable conversations with people who have no idea that I'm in the lifestyle and listening to them being completely judgy about swinging. Of course.
As someone who spent a number of years in a rural town in the closet,
Oh, yeah. Several years ago, my best friend took me to see Louis Theroux. Oh, this is going to make me sad. I like Louis Theroux. I haven't read all of this, by the way, because I wanted it to be a bit of a surprise too. Took me to see Louis Theroux being interviewed by Julia Zemiro, and when he talked about his episode on swingers, there was a definite ick vibe that I could feel radiating from the audience, my bestie included. I keep my mouth shut, obviously, but if I'm asked my opinion of it, I simply say that we probably shouldn't care what others do if it's not harming anybody else. Agreed. 100%.
Totally.
So I pitched the idea to Ghosts of Boyfriends Past, that's us, about whether hearing a few stories from the swing set would be of interest, and the stories I wanted to tell will hopefully make you laugh, some will make you cringe with secondhand embarrassment, and some will make you angry for us. Hopefully none will offend you. Like the time we took a 23-year-old babyface playmate with us to Sexpo as he was staying with us over that weekend, and a female stall holder asked if it was weird that he was at Sexpo with his parents.
Yeah. Not the sexy vibe you're all going for.
He hesitated for a second before saying completely straight-faced, "They aren't my parents." Awkward silence followed until husband said to her, "Bet that's made it weirder for you, huh?"
Yeah.
Honestly, this girl was at Sexpo. What did she think it was about? I hate to think of how she coped with the amateur strip show later in the evening.
To be fair, if just because a group of people is at Sexpo doesn't mean that they're not his parents. And doesn't automatically mean that they are...
I mean, shit.
That he's a unicorn to their couple.
Like, if my parents were cool enough to go to Sexpo with me, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. Woo!
That's the thing. If my mum asked me to go to Sexpo with her, I'd go to Sexpo with her.
My mother would be more embarrassed to be at Sexpo with me than I would be.
Well, I don't think my mother would ever want to go to Sexpo.
Mine might. She's a sex therapist, so...
My mother's stance on sexual education was, if they ask a question, I'll answer it. And in our household, there's a wonderful moment when my two sisters were being driven home from school, and they pulled into the driveway, and my baby sister innocently asked Mum, what's a wet dream?
And the door's locked.
And my other sister just gets out of the car and runs away. The 14-year-old can't deal with that, but the innocent 7-year-old with questions. It's so funny.
Or there was the time when I had a swinger friend inadvertently out me to a colleague of mine. The colleague recently separated, was new to Swingtown, and had met our friend through one of the apps. Our friend asked if she could bring him to a party that we were hosting. He had a common first name and we didn't get his last name, so sure, why not bring him along? Hub and my name in combination, however, are unusual enough for someone who knows us to pick up on it. So he inquired with our friend as to what we looked like and what we did for work, and then told her that he worked with me. Thus followed a frenzied, apologetic phone call from our friend, and the colleague opted not to come to the party in the end. We did manage to keep it very professional at work until he moved to a different team. For the record, I did not want to see him naked, so it would have been super duper awkward if he had wanted to come along. So while those are a couple of the cute, funny, awkward stories, I do want to give you some more meaty ones with encounters that didn't quite go as planned.
Okay. All right. I mean, Yeah, I'm interested to see what the parallels are here, because there's definitely an aspect of being in the closet, as well.
I was going to pick up on that. There is swingers clearly don't want to be outed as swingers in workplaces. Obviously, everyone's privacy is important.
It's a shame that everybody can't just be like exactly like Cindy and be like, if it's not harming somebody else, then why should you care? But unfortunately, the world is so not that. It's the opposite of that.
Yeah, to be fair though, I think like this is what like gay people have fought against in the last 20 years as well. Is it's like, just because you know that I have a sexual preference doesn't mean that you need to think about it. And doesn't mean that I need to hide it. So I think that I hope that swinging can take that same, and polyamory as well, can take that same path as like people like Cindy owning up and educating about it, so that when people go like, yeah, we're non-monogamous, people go like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've had a few more encounters recently where like I've been on dates, guys, where people were saying, that they're ethically non-monogamous, and that actually suited me down to the ground, because I don't want a real relationship. Like, I don't want a soul relationship. So the fact that more people are like talking about it straight up is good. But yeah, swinging is still like little secret.
Yeah, well, swinging is that. I'm also interested to see the adjacency to the kink community, because like a lot of people who are into the kink community don't advertise that as well, because people don't need to know unless they're actively involved.
So this first story is swing foul number 1, and in italics it says, he wasn't Ted Bundy, he was much, much worse.
Oh no.
Now,
I'm
hyperbole
terrified.
I mean, he was
Ted Bundy killed a lot
he killed a lot of people.
Maybe.
And was really charismatic and attractive.
I mean, I hope no one dies in this story.
Gee whiz.
All right, let's go. Let's buckle in. I haven't read this. I deliberately didn't read them because I wanted to be surprised. When we first started, I let Hub do a lot of the searching for the right fit. There's this concept of a unicorn, a bisexual female to join the couple in a threesome, every straight guy's fantasy, right? Well, due to our separate sexual orientations, Hub is bisexual and I am heteroflexible, our preference is for an even more elusive creature, the Municorn, a bisexual male for a devil's triangle, male, male, female threesome. Now, in theory, this should be super easy, right? Throw a tiny grain of sand in the direction of any sex dating app and you will hit a horny male, willing to drop everything and come galloping into the bedroom and dive on in. I can attest to that.
Yeah, yes.
Yep, even if you really don't want that. Yes, that's true. But it's impossible to find one that fits my criteria, which is that they have to be within a certain age range, hold a level of attraction for me, not be in a relationship, not be a smoker, have hygiene and good presentation, and be able to do more than send poorly spelt sext with photos of their dicks. Fair.
Okay, yeah. So the problem is not finding someone that just meets the sexy needs. It's finding someone that meets the sexy needs plus the everyday relationship requirements
Like
that you have to
intellectual-
enjoy someone's company.
Yeah.
So send your resume to ghostofboyfriendspast@gmail.com.
Add in those who aren't fearful of seeing another man naked in case it makes them gay. Then it's quite a tall order.
Sorry. They just made me laugh. That's all you did. You just made me laugh.
So she put it in quote marks, and so I was like, in case it makes me gay. I'm not gay, man. Then it's quite a tall order. But they are out there. I know. I've met a few. They need to meet us first at a neutral location, and we never play straight after a first meeting. I'm a picky bitch. We never play straight after a first meeting.
Never play directly after a first
right.
meeting.
Yeah.
I
was like, you
you're
play
playing
straight? No, we never play directly. Yep. I'm a picky bitch, and I'm not going to get waxed for just anyone. They need to be at least someone who I can have a conversation with. I'm the same if I'm welcoming them into my home and hosting them in my vagina.
I mean, this is
Agree.
That's all fair. Like,
Yeah.
this is a sexual partner is not just about having the right bits and being sexually
you've got-
attracted.
yeah.
Sexual attraction includes what they sound like
Yeah.
and how they comport themselves.
So there was this one guy who seemed to fit the bill. We'll call him Van for reasons that will become clear in a
Okay.
tiny minute.
Does he have a van?
Who knows? We met him at a late night cafe and he seemed to be okay. We spoke for a couple of hours. It was getting late and the cafe was closing, so it was a natural progression for us to finish off the meeting and for Hub and I to discuss with each other what our thoughts were before we decided if he was a candidate. Now, at this point, I was sort of on the fence, but leaning more towards the no side. There's just something that just didn't sit right.
All right. Intuition.
Didn't
That's
sit
fine.
right. Except that this guy wanted to continue the conversation. He invited us out to the car park as he wanted to show us something that he had in his car.
Now,
Was this car a van,
Yes,
you ask? It was a white, windowless van.
yeah, very good.
At this point, I would like to get some guesses as to what he might want to show them. Because like my guess is like,
I was thinking of puppy dog.
see, I'm thinking in this context, some sort of sex dungeon van
Yeah,
conversion.
he's showing the van.
Where he's like,
he's
this is what I have to offer.
showing off the prize. Here, here's what you could have won. Yeah.
So Cindy says, I'm not going to brag on someone because of their car. As Ted Bundy as this looked, but it was winter and I was tired. And so I kind of got the ick at the van. And then the final nail in the ick coffin occurred when he opened up the back of his van to show that he was already set up in case we wanted to,
Great.
go for it right there.
He's a man on the go. Knows what he needs.
Apparently, he'd parked his van so that no one would see or even guess what was going on once we were inside and the back door was closed. Now, I've seen true crime shows about what happens to people who climb into vans with strangers, that it usually ends up with them in a pit and a guy wearing their skin. I looked at the hub with the signal and he extracted us from the conversation politely and swiftly. It was an easy block and move on. Now, that's bad, but I'm not sure that's Ted Bundy bad.
No one died. It could have died. Like that is a dangerous situation.
This is very dangerous situation.
Especially to be sprung on you without hey, I've actually got my van and we can go there right now.
Not the weird, I want to show you something, follow me to the car park.
Yeah.
That's what makes me so uncomfortable.
All of those points. Plus, it's hard to anyone. It's hard to sell a sex van as a hey, here's my sex van. Get in it with just as a.
I even think that this behavior might be what people think of when they think of swinging that gives it a bad.
Well,
Yeah,
they think
he's
that
leaning
anyone
into
who's
the-
a swinger is just going to want to drop trow and do it wherever.
Yeah. And I will say, I'm not sure what Cindy's experience is, but definitely the stereotype is that the men involved in the swinging scene are more kind of on the on the extreme side than the women, and the women are the limiters. Basically, they decide what happens and when, and the men are just like, yes,
Everything
please.
goes.
Yeah. So,
I felt real uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I'm glad you decided not to get in that van.
oh
Cindy.
yeah, sex fan,
Especially
immediate no.
Windowless that he didn't tell you about until you were there.
Yeah.
Even if your partner of 10 years goes, honey, I bought the sex van, it's still like a weird.
Yeah.
It's still
It'd still be some time.
It's still a conversation where
Yeah.
you're going to be circling.
I
it.
don't think there is a good situation where a sex van is a surprise.
No
Absolutely.
surprise sex van.
Absolutely
even
not.
if you are in a committed relationship and you know what each other are into, and you're into kind of the
Surprise.
more extreme, like if you just show up and you've got, it's like, honey,
12
sex
grand.
van.
Kidding.
I'm like, what are we doing with a sex van?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it just for
Unless
us?
you've
Yeah.
spoken about it beforehand, you're like, what would be a great idea?
Sex
van.
All right. So this is swing file number 2. I'm not going to read out the italicized heading because
Okay.
this one I feel like gives too much away. I was a bit smitten with this guy, who I will call AB, when Hub showed me his photos taken at a sporting event. AB was ripped. Like this guy was...
So AB for abs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this guy was aspirational and I definitely wanted to see him in real life. So we met him, he was charming, and I asked straight up, why no girlfriend? And he claimed that he had no time because of his sporting schedule, which is why he was after something that was no strings attached sex. AB told me that he loved older women. I was just over 40 at this time, because we know what we want, unlike his female peers. He did puppy dog eyes, and then he fucking lifted his shirt in that accidental way that gym bros do when they want you to see that they have an 8-pack.
I'm not sure I know what that way is. Is it like when they reach up over
It's
their
like some
heads?
kind of
or?
like, I don't know, like a stretch or like some kind of like, washing your hands on your shirt where it accidentally comes up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, fingers can get snagged on bottoms of shirts. And
Yeah.
all sorts of
I mean,
things.
like I'm aware that shirts can
Or
lift and
scratching
show
your
apart.
stomach, like, when you
Okay,
do that,
yeah,
like,
maybe.
and then it, we're all doing like physical things in the.
We're all trying to figure out how to
Yeah,
done because none of us
logically.
have ever done it before.
Apparently, I don't hang out with enough gym people.
No, not really.
Cindy says that was the sugar paste on the already sweet icing on the cake that had me locked and loaded.
Well, Cindy knows what she wants.
Yeah.
And who's
Fucking
giving it
gym
to her.
bros
Yep.
and their damn abs.
Yep. Good.
Within a week, AB was over and the sex was, and this is underlined, good. Stamina, flexibility, and those fucking abs. He continued to keep in contact with the plan that he would be available for another round in a few weeks after a major sporting event he was competing in. I watched the event on TV. Ooh, this is like
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
fun. It's fun.
It was
Yeah.
real
hey,
sporting event.
Hey, I saw him do all right in it. I mean, he's no first placer, but the camera loves him. I sent him a cheeky text later that night and he replied back to thank me for being a fan. Okay, weird, but no red flag. Thanks for being a fan.
That's a reddish flag.
It's pink.
Reddish. There is
Yeah.
a sort of a when an athlete is on or athlete rock someone
Yeah.
performing is on top of their game and someone says, "Hey man, that was awesome." They can just I understand the sort of thanks for your support, and he
Yeah,
said it in
yeah.
a way that made it sound like a cheerleader.
Yeah, it was a
Rather
little.
I don't
little
want to
dismissive.
feel like I'm anyone's roadie. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be like groupie. No.
I think
like-
I think my instinct. He's got the messaging wrong. It instead of
Yeah.
thanks for your support, he said thanks for it's nice. Thank you for being a fan. So it
Of
just
my
comes-
body,
Yeah.
sure.
like it definitely could be like, thanks for caring enough to watch, or it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, you want me.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those is redder than the other.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Cindy continues, then I did a silly thing that was ultimately the right thing to do. I decided to check out his professional social media, just to look at his photos and admire his dedication to his sport. And then it says, haha, I was straight up perving, let's face it. And that's when I discovered that AB did not have a girlfriend. AB had a fiance, and the wedding was around 3 months away.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Press the button.
Under the assumption that he has misled.
Well, she
in
said,
his-
why no girlfriend?
Why no
And
girl-
he's
Well-
like, I don't have time to have a relationship
Yeah,
because of
true.
all my
Yep.
sport, is what he said. He lied.
Yep.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
it hadn't been addressed, fine. But he straight up lied.
I just wanted to raise a flag. Like, I'm not sure why you think a silly thing is checking someone's public social media.
I'm usually pretty against like I like to find out things from people rather than looking at
Yeah.
them on the internet.
But I think like at this point,
Yeah, you
like,
fucked them.
You've had sex with them, like you got to know them a
Yeah.
little bit, and I think what they put out in public is now something that you should familiarize yourself
Yeah.
with, just in case like there are things that you need to know, like fiance, or it is an open. It's an open secret that he has sex
Especially
with.
though if they're a public person,
Yeah.
like you don't want to be not
Yeah.
like what if you say the wrong thing to somebody else and then everyone's in a whole bunch of trouble?
Yeah, like that's the thing. You wouldn't want to accidentally out them to
Yes.
someone, because if
Yeah.
you're just like, I had sex with a really
Yeah.
hot person who's an athlete, and you're like, what kind of athlete? And you're like, this person. You're like, was it this person? It's like, then
their
you're
fiance is
committing the faux
amazing,
pas.
yeah.
So that's the thing. I don't think it's silly to check someone's
No,
at this point in their relationship.
I agree. Public information. If
Yeah.
someone's willingly sharing public
Before the
information.
first date, I think stalking someone can
yeah,
be
I never
awkward.
do that because then it's so inauthentic. You
Yeah.
know stuff about people before. It's creepy and weird if you
Yeah.
bring up something. Oh, I saw that on your profile. Okay, what are we going to talk about then?
Unless you're talking to someone like on a social media.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think at this point you're perfectly fine to have checked social media.
So Cindy's pretty angry at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was fuming that he lied because I have a policy of never having sex with guys in relationships unless their partners are in the lifestyle and they do it as a couple.
Yeah.
I do not condone cheating, and had I known this bit of info prior to meeting him, there would have been no meeting, even with those damn abs.
And this is the ethical part of ethical non-monogamy.
Yes.
Hub deferred to me as to what I wanted to do about it, and in my annoyance, I deleted everything and blocked him. Hub then contacted him and simply told him that we'd found out he was partnered and that wasn't something we were interested in unless his partner also wanted to join us. Funny how really horrified these guys are when you suggest their wives or girlfriends join in the bedroom fun.
Yes, funny that.
For those wondering, I thought about contacting her, but decided against it. So we should have asked the other question for this episode. Decided against it because it really wasn't my place to ruin her dream wedding. And if I'm being honest, I didn't want to get embroiled in the drama as it could have really bitten me badly. Call me a coward, ...
No,
I don't think you're a
not
coward,
at
especially
all.
when there's a chance that someone could out you retaliatorily.
Yep.
Is that a word?
I think that works.
Retaliatively?
In retaliation.
Yeah, let's just reword that.
Probably easier.
I did follow the wedding journey. This was back when people weren't so private about their socials. So I watched the uploaded wedding video. They looked so happy, and while I knew he was a cad and a bounder, I truly hoped that we were just a momentary lapse in his judgment and that they would live happily and monogamously ever after.
Can I ask for a definition of the word bounder?
Like a fuckboy.
Okay.
Bouncing from person to person.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Every
Yep.
day's a school day.
Yeah. Every now and then I'd do a cheeky socials check to see what was happening. They were divorced within a year.
Well, that's unfortunate.
She's now moved on with a lovely guy. So
That's
she's
fortunate.
really following this
Yeah.
along. And he's kind of washed up and living in a different state.
Well, I mean,
There you go.
maybe he still has abs, and
Yeah, but not forever.
we'll
not
see.
forever.
I mean, I
Time
feel
is
like when you
a-ticking,
get
my
washed
friend.
up, maybe that means less abs. Maybe he's going to go to 6-pack instead of an 8-pack now.
sure.
Let's hope so.
Gee.
Now, I've got one more shortish one, and then I think we'll put the other 3 stories into another episode.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
All right. So this is swing fail number 3. I'm going to read half of the italicized title of this
Okay.
one. We venture into our first club.
Okay.
Ooh.
Swingers clubs are weird, man.
Yes.
We went to one when we first wanted to know more about the lifestyle but hadn't really met anybody. We rolled up, paid our money after already having a chat on the way in that we were not going to do anything with anybody else. All clothes were staying firmly on, and we were just there to do a tourist and maybe meet some people. We kind of treated it like a science experiment, just to do research in a way, I guess.
Very, very responsible way to
Yes.
approach it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just want, it's like an education visit. It's like it's like a tour of the site before you work there.
Well, yeah, this is informed consent. You need
Yes.
to be informed first.
Now, when you are brand new to clubs, the host will take you on a tour so you can see all the features, rooms and spaces available.
Very nice.
This, I also realized later, is like a neon flashing sign above your heads that says new meat to any of the regulars. And boy, oh boy, do regulars like themselves a bit of new meat. Below is a shortened list of the most interesting people that we encountered in the precisely 4 hours that we were there.
Okay. All right. Cindy, firstly, from what I know about you, I'm a big fan. I, fingers crossed, this doesn't get into me thinking less of you for judging people. But okay. This
Yeah,
is
like-
that introduction was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. Just putting that out there that
I thought we were barreling towards an explosive list of public figures that she's run across. The Prime Minister of Australia.
He's
geez.
too religious to be in a place like
Here
that.
we go. Come on.
He'd be out there baptizing people as they came out. That's our old Prime Minister. Our new one's different.
Albo's no Christian.
Yeah, Albo would be in a sex club,
Yeah, he'd be at the door shaking people's hands on the way in.
handing out free condoms.
Yeah, probably. I'm just so used to having a wanker for Prime Minister. It hasn't really hit me that we don't have one that's, yeah.
I don't
Okay.
know what his opinion on group sex is.
No, but I feel like it'd be like, don't yuck someone else's yum.
Yeah.
Number 1, a couple who informed us straight up that she was newly pierced and then proceeded to show us a very intimate piercing that still makes my eyes water when I think about it.
That's
I mean,
a lot at the first meeting.
Yeah, like you don't just go, that's flashing someone.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And yeah, being in a sex club doesn't give you consent to do whatever you want.
Yeah, you can't just be like, well, you're here, so look at my vulva.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
A lot of people with tattoos and piercings, they love them and they're willing to show them off. That's
Yeah.
their body and their artwork. They're happy to do that. It maybe
It's like,
not so
would
much
you
on
like
the
to
first.
see?
Yeah,
yeah,
on the.
yeah. Do you want to see? No. End of conversation.
I believe you. Yeah.
Number 2. A woman nearly concussing herself by climbing onto the pool table to do a sexy dance,
I love it.
but instead smashing her head onto the low-hanging pool table light.
I'm so sorry that person got hurt. But
She sustained a cut on her forehead, but don't worry. She was at it later in the night with a group of people, bloodied head and all. So clearly, no harm, no foul.
you shouldn't come out of a swinging party like bloodied and bandaged with a black eye,
It's definitely not the ideal situation.
gangrene.
See, I've
Wipe
seen,
your face.
Yeah, I've seen that happen without the sex at the end, and
Yes,
it wasn't a sex club. It was just like a pub on
Yeah.
a Friday
Things
night.
Yeah.
happen, yeah.
But like at least when that happens, normally you just like go, oh shit, and then go wipe your face in the
Yes.
bathroom. You don't go, oh man, I'm bleeding. Let's
Yeah.
fuck.
Medic. Medic. All right.
Okay. Number 3, 2 guys giggling and enjoying the spa by themselves until a woman suddenly came up for air. I was observing for a good long time too.
Good.
So this woman clearly had gills.
She a scuba. Yeah.
That's impressive.
I mean, yeah, at that like that's totally fine. That's just a fun voyeurism
Yeah.
thing there.
I like the
Personally,
giggling. I like the giggling.
I wouldn't put my head under
No, that's quite dangerous in a spa.
in a
is it not?
spa, especially a sex club spa.
Yeah.
Like normally they say don't put your head under there because like the jets can suck your
Suck
hair
your
in and
hair,
you'll die.
yes.
But also warm water and bodily fluids.
I would assume that the sex club spa, like gay spas, are highly, highly chlorinated.
See, you think this, but I go to some like I've been to like just bathhouses, not sex bathhouses, but like I saw a floating Band-Aid in one first. So like, like they're meant to be like medi spas and they're
Yeah.
still dirty. I just don't trust them.
Yeah.
Don't trust them.
Putting your head under is a call. It's a call that
Yeah.
Yes, a
you
brave
could
choice.
make.
Yeah. Now, this is more an interesting one.
Okay.
I don't feel like she's yucking somebody's yum. I feel like she's fascinated by it.
Okay.
A cougar walking her cub on a leash.
That's not.
Yeah.
She said,
I
this
think
one
that's-
fascinated me.
Yeah.
He looked to be in his mid-20s and she was considerably older. She was literally walking him like a dog and she would stop and talk with people who would pat him like a dog. So now this goes back to an episode that Zane was on, Zane and the To-Do List, where we talked about
The
pup
puppy
play.
Yeah.
This may not be pup play. This might be master slave.
Right. But they're patting him like a dog. Is that different?
Well, yeah. If the master wants them to act like a dog and
Right.
be treated like a dog, it might not be that
Right.
they want to perform as a dog or basically enter that headspace. But yeah, I mean this, and again, this is kind of a sex club is a safe space for this kind of expression. Before it turns, I guess, before anyone gets actively involved in sex.
Yes,
So
right.
yeah.
And then she says, here's where I admit that I kind of also wanted to pat him, but I didn't because I was a little bit scared.
The same rules apply in that situation as with real dogs. You just ask, may I pet them?
Yeah. It's
And
like,
they'll say
no,
yes or
they're
no.
a working dog.
And it has to be. It's always the younger person crawling around on their knees because they got they actually get the hardware
Yeah,
for
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And if I spent 2 minutes on the floor, I'd be groaning. Ah, get me out!
This body is not made for
Yeah,
submission
crumbling,
like that.
crumbling before my eyes.
Later, I saw her with a man in a room and the cub sat on the floor by the bed like a dog would and watched her and the man have sex.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah.
That might be pup play then.
I started to feel a bit freaked out after this and Hub decided it was best to go home. We did try and go to one more club about a month later, but as we got closer, I had a visceral reaction and Hub decided that it probably wasn't our scene and we should just go home instead and have a quiet night in. I haven't been back to a club since. I don't really want to.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like that's the thing. Like clubs are the more extreme side of anything.
Yeah, well, it's where people let their flag fly,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Like, because it's you're with a group of people who are not likely to yuck your yum.
Also, you're in a place where there is going to be interaction with the public. It's not just about your experience and your sexual experience with your partner or partners. There is an element of voyeurism and exhibitionism that's inherent in that. And if that is not what you're involved in the scene for, then that's just not your part of the scene.
So similar to anything you enjoy doing in a hobby you like doing in private, as soon as you start doing it around 1,000 people, you're aware that they're watching how your hands are doing it. You're aware of what's going on. Yeah,
I've definitely wanted to go to a club before just to I mean, my journalistic sense of curiosity, I've wanted to write about it back when I was doing relationship columns. I was so curious and a little bit titillated, I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't necessarily think I'd want to go to a club and partake, but watching people, that's kind of hot.
And if you're going to be negative or spiteful about it at all, I'd rather you go to the club and have a look first, and then still be negative. Or if you're going
at
to
least know what they're talking about.
Interesting. All right. So from the first 3 stories and a couple of little cute interactions, what are our lessons learned this week for the Swinger Chronicles?
I wanted to quickly go back to how much snooping is allowed on social media. Just to sort of clarify, I suppose, if someone's got on a public profile, they've got 100 photos up and an about me and here's my movies, and aren't you allowed to go, I've learned of this person and I will now consume their life and go through it?
Here's what I've said to friends before. You're totally fine to look at as much as you want, as long as it's not hurting you.
Okay.
Yeah. I get quite cranky when I've had besties phone me up and go, oh my God, he's engaged. And I'm like, how do you know that? I was looking through his Instagram and I was scrolling through. I'm like, why do you do this to yourself? When it hurts you, don't do it. If it's just curiosity and they're putting it out there, then fine. Don't do it before you meet someone. I agree with Zane in that I think it's kind of creepy if you do a deep dive on somebody before you meet, because then what are you going to talk about? Like, you're forming an opinion of them that you don't know. Like, you could go in and they could actually be a great person, but you could have formed a really weird opinion because of one thing that you misinterpreted.
I mean, it's also the same reason why you don't want to chat at extreme length with someone, so you're not forming an opinion that you're falling in love with, and then you meet them and there's no actual chemistry, and so you have that mini heartbreak because the fake image that you had in your head turned out not to be real.
So maybe my lesson is less to do with social media and more to do with the sense of discovery and all that can come from talking to a person face to face. Don't if you scour someone's social media profile for 10 hours, you'll invent a person or a copy of that person, and you'll fall for that, as Zane said.
I can't tell you the amount of times that I've written something online and someone said something to me about it and I'm like, wow, that is not how I meant it at all. That played completely differently in my head. So I wouldn't want someone forming an opinion of me just on my socials.
And I think another little lesson would be, if you are going to giggle at something like Swingers or any pony played or any sort of kink or whatever, ask yourself why, and if you are going, hey, if you find yourself going, actually, I don't know why. Maybe you don't need to do the thing to at least educate yourself about it. You don't have to. If you want to find out more about the trans community, you don't have to be your trans yourself. You can just learn. So that's probably my lessons, Elizabeth.
Never go to a second location.
Yes.
On a first date. Ever.
In general.
No surprise sex fans.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, surprise sex fans just ride out.
Yeah.
Because the only context which I can imagine it working well is if you know that they are into surprise sex vans.
If they've said, wait, we should get a sex van, and then like a year later you've saved up and bought it and you've gone, surprise, here is the sex van that we have previously spoken about.
First date, oof. Yeah, that's a bold move.
Second location, no matter where it is, I would not have left that restaurant on a first date if someone was creeping me out.
I'd be very interested in seeing if that's ever worked for him.
Well, it's like that episode of How I Met Your Mother, the naked guy play. Like he said, what was it? 3 times out of 10 it works, where you leave the room, the guy takes off his clothes, the girl comes back and she'll either freak out or she'll have sex.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I would freak out. I'd be like, what are you doing? Unless I really like that.
And that's the thing. Like there is a context
an
for
unless.
every action. I think my main takeaway is the fact that the scene, as Cindy calls it, is still so much about secrecy and remaining in the closet. Which, and again, I think that's just harks back to my own experience of being in the closet. It's like that's a little unfortunate. Whereas I think if everyone could be more open and open about it and not be judged for it, then that would both make it easier and safer to partake.
This is why I was so keen when Cindy first mentioned that she was a part of the scene to get these stories on here, because I wanted that's our main goal with Ghosts of Boyfriends Past, is to always talk about everything to do with sex, dating and relationships, so that it normalizes the experiences that other people are going through and that we can all learn lessons from. Like, don't fuck a couple if you've got a fiance and you've lied about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it is just don't lie about having a fiance.
Yeah.
Because then everyone is informed enough to make consent.
Particularly if you're a public figure, if you're playing professional sport or whatever this person was, you're going to probably get found out eventually. I want a small part of me wants to know, but a large part of me doesn't want to know if this guy named his sex fan. Like he's got a name for it.
Oh, he's definitely got a name for it.
I do want to know, but I really don't as well in equal
It's a
parts.
groupie thing, like in his, the fact that he called her a fan.
Interesting.
Yeah, look, it's probably my number one relationship rule, full stop, is don't withhold information that would enable somebody else to make an informed decision on whether they want to be with you or not. And that's happened to me in lots of relationships. People have withheld that, they don't want to get married, withheld that they're not wanting to have children, withheld that they are cheating on me. Like, I want all the information. And then if I decide that you're still worth me putting my heart through that, then that's great. Yeah. But don't withhold information that would enable someone to make an informed consensual decision about you.
It's fair to the other person, but it makes your life easier in the long run. Like,
can you imagine? Like, if I had a public persona, there's no way I'd be doing stuff like that. Yeah. Like, I'd be anxious all the time. But then I'm not a white dude who has privilege of. Yeah, and I'm not like a hot white dude.
But that's the thing. Like, I think Cindy has the right approach. Like, she calls herself a picky bitch.
Yeah.
But having those prerequisites, that is both safe for her and her lifestyle and her husband. But it's also making sure that things don't go awry.
That's another thing I want to bring up as a lesson. Women do it more than men. We call ourselves picky. I'm just picky. You're not picky. You have standards, and you're allowed to say what you want. That doesn't make you picky. That doesn't make you difficult. That doesn't make you high maintenance. You want what you want. Can you imagine anyone ever going, oh, he's just a picky bastard?
Yeah.
People don't talk about men that way. And women, we talk about ourselves that way. We're just like, oh, I'm just really picky and that's why I'm single. No, you just want someone to treat you
But Cindy
well.
said it right at the start.
Yeah.
It's like, you can just throw a stick and hit a horny guy who will have sex with you.
She said a small grain of sand.
A small grain of sand.
Yeah.
And hit a horny guy who will have sex with you. But it's about figuring out whether or not that guy is going to be good at it.
I just say get rid of the negative language. You are allowed to have preferences with who you allow into your vagina.
Yeah,
you have exclusive criteria.
Yeah.
Speaking on stereotypes and two generalities. Anytime that it's a good thing to know what you want, it's a good thing to know who you are. So don't apologize for those things. That's good. The world needs more of that.
And it sounds like Cindy and her husband have a really strong connection and honest with each other, where they're on the same team.
Yes.
And I think that is very very admirable as well.
Yeah, none of this. Like, I've seen people who are in the swinging scene who have said. I just want to make you happy. That says to me that they're not happy with it as well. Like, they're doing it because the other partner wants to. I think having that being on the same page about it is super important.
Yeah.
So we're not done with this little saga.
No,
this will got kick on
a couple more pages. So time will tell whether it will be an extra one episode or an extra two.
So
could be a sequel, could be a trilogy.
So we'll put a bookmark in this little story, boys and girls. Off you go with the rest of your lives. I know you want to hang out with Tom and Liz and Zane for the rest of the week.
And hear about swingers, because damn.
We'll hear more of them next time. Thank you so much for listening. We love your company. Write a story into ghostsofboyfriendspast@gmail.com.
Have you ever had a swinging experience that's either gone really, really right or really, really wrong? I want to hear about it. I remember at one point one of my friends told me that she had a threesome and that she'd created a new core memory. I want to hear this kind of stuff. Like I
hope it was a good core memory.
Yeah, a really good one. It was like, this is the best night of my life.
That's when you look back and go, core.
Yeah. So please write in and talk about your first, last, middle sexual experiences that you've had in a swinging or open relationship. I want to hear about them. In the meantime, if you could rate and review us, that'd make us super happy, because we basically get found by you through reviews in whatever platform that you choose to listen to us through. So if you can find a way to write a review for us, and if you give us 5 stars, we might read you out on the podcast. We'll say whatever you want. If you want us to advertise your business and you've given us 5 stars, then we'll do it. We are absolute review whores in that way. Other than that, gents, Zane, thank you so much for coming on mic again and giving, extra depth and
You're very
insight.
welcome. Always happy to talk about swinging.
Yes. And Tom, thank you as ever for being my eloquent co-host.
That's all right. Break in the sex vans gently, everybody, as you can.
Yeah, we'll just leave you with the whole no surprise sex van. It's never okay.
La 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 la